Hi everybody, this is Shannon with Shannon's Kitchen coming to you on this Friday night. And tonight I'm going to be making an herbal meatloaf with all fresh, nice ingredients like parsley, cilantro, and some oregano. And I'm going to be using the spices and the fresh herbs that I was using the other night. And I've got some potatoes in this hot water. It's going to come to a boil real soon. Says we're having homemade mashed potatoes with this meatloaf. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and prep everything and put it in the oven because I'm going to be also putting these in the oven as well. Our green beans. They're going to be in this pan right here, and the meatloaf's going to be here. But I'm going to be roasting my green beans tonight instead of sauteing them in a pan like I've shown you before. So, welcome to Shannon's Kitchen on this Friday night, and tonight we're having herbal meatloaf. So, to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to oil the bottom of my pan with some olive oil and then dump my green beans in there. Okay. All you're probably going to want to need about the size of the bottom of your bowl, and then just take your hand and just, like spread it around in the bottom of the pan where your green beans are going to be sitting. Okay. Go wash my hands. All right, not tonight, sweetie. But go sit down. Sunday. I love you. Go sit down. Okay, so I'm gonna get my apron on so I don't get anything on my dress, and it's over here. All right. I'm having some issues, but that's okay. All right. So go ahead and make sure I keep my clothing from getting any oil on it because it will stain your clothes. It doesn't matter how good the oil is, if it's olive oil, safflower oil, it doesn't matter. It'll stain your clothing, so wear an apron. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start putting these green beans in. Produce green beans, not out of a can. Produce. They're sitting in a green bag from the grocery store. This came from the produce section at Walmart. Alright. And then we're going to put these up because I can use those in a different meal this week. Alright, so this is about, for my family, about 4 people. So this is about how much we eat. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of butter on top of the green beans. That way it'll melt down and distribute up from the bottom of the pan while it's in the oven. So let me get my butter. It's over here. That's all that's on my stick, on my dish. But I'm going to take that much. It's about, give or take a tablespoon, okay? So I'm just going to put it in the middle, just a dollop right there in the middle of my green beans. And I'm finished with that. Okay, so now next I'm going to put salt and pepper, and that's all I'm going to do to these. And you'll be surprised how far salt and pepper will season your vegetables and season them nicely when you have olive oil and butter and stuff like that on there. So, okay, I've just lightly coated the top of my green beans with the salt, with my sea salt, my fine sea salt. Now, what's going to happen with that is it's just going to reduce nicely into the vegetables, and it's going to give it a good salty flavor. Here in a minute, I'm fixing to roll, like put a little bit of olive oil on top of my green beans, and then just like jostle them a little bit with my hands. That way, they're finely coated. But first, I'm going to put some salt and pepper on there. And this is ground pepper, ground black pepper, and it's fine ground pepper. Okay. You don't want to put too much on there because you've already got your pan coated in it. So just lightly drizzle this over the top. And just kind of jostle them around. It don't matter if the butter moves around or whatever, but it's okay. Alright, so those are jostled around. So what I'm fixing to do is I'm fixing to preheat my oven to 400 degrees because I'm going to put my meatloaf in there once it's done preheating. Alright, it's going to take about 10 minutes for our 10.5 minutes for our oven to preheat. So while that's going on, I'm going to go ahead and focus on getting this meatloaf mixed up. But I'm going to move these out of the way real quick. Alright, let's see. Get my meatloaf. My meat. Now, the kind of meat that I'm using is, I don't know if you can see this, but it's 93% and 7% lean, okay? It's all natural lean ground beef, and this came from Walmart as well. Rule of thumb, sometimes you can buy the rolls of ground beef, but every time I've ever bought the rolls of ground beef from Walmart, they weren't, like 93.7, but you can get those if you're going to do 80-20 or something like that. And sometimes you have to be careful because the meat can be rotten. So just make sure that you're careful with that. But this was on sale for $17.84, but it's usually regular price is $23 or $24. So I got a really good deal on this piece of meat at Walmart. On this meat at Walmart. Excuse me. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of olive oil at the bottom of my pan, my casserole dish. Now, what I like to do is I like to make probably about a third of a cup, okay? And I like to put a little bit of water in the bottom of my pan, just so that just kind of put some moisture into the meat, and I can mix it with the oil too. But you want to put it up on the sides because you want this meatloaf to not be sticky to your pan. But you want it to render as much fat out as you can in the pan, because the drippings from the meatloaf I'm going to put in my mashed potatoes, and it's really good that way. But anyhow, so let's go ahead and get this meat into this casserole dish. I have a 6-year-old, and she's been running fever all day, and I have to take her to the doctor tomorrow, so I have to go be with her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all this stuff in the oven and let it cook tonight, and then make my homemade mashed potatoes and stuff, and go be with her. But I wanted to cook a nice herbal meatloaf. I know none of y'all have ever heard of a herbal meatloaf, but the reason why I call it a herbal meatloaf is because I use natural seasonings in my meatloaf. Green onion, of course, a Vidalia onion. I put a whole Vidalia onion in my meatloaf, and some people like to use fillers like crackers or bread. I don't do that. We don't have a very large family. We have a family of 4. But sometimes when I do have people over, I'll just get me 5 pounds of meat or 3 pounds of meat, and that's about how many this is. This is 3 pounds, 3.5 pounds of meat, almost four. And I will make a huge meatloaf because that's what it's called, meatloaf. It's not bread meatloaf or crackers and meatloaf. It's meatloaf. And not to mention, sometimes crackers are processed. We like to eat clean around here, so I don't put any fillers in my meat. So it's just 100%, like 93% 7% meat is what I've got in this pan. So yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start milling the meat like this, and just kind of working it. And here in a minute, I'm going to put 1 egg in here. And this kind of holds everything together and keeps it structurally sound while it's in the oven cooking, so that the meat doesn't fall apart, and it keeps the loaf, keeps the loaf shape nice. But sometimes we have leftovers, and we'll eat it the next day on bread, or if there's any sides, we'll have it for lunch the next day. I'll warm it up for everybody on the weekend on a Saturday, and we'll sit down at the dinner table and have lunch. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go wash my hands real quick, and then I'm gonna get my herbs and stuff and start adding stuff in. Now that my hands are clean again, I'm going to reach in here and get my herbs. Okay, now they have all been sitting in the bag, just waiting to be used. And I'm about to use them all. Well, maybe half of what I got left. Oh, they still smell so good. If you're not growing these in your kitchen, like on your windowsill or on your counter in front of a window or something, it's always good to keep them in a green bag. This comes from the grocery store, and these will keep your spices and your vegetables fresh. These are called green bags, and they're kind of thick. Now, the real thin plastic ones they also have up there, they won't keep them so fresh. So you want to try to find you a green bag, that's kind of thick and coarse, like this one. And they're big. They're really big. See, like this. That's what you want. And every grocery store has them. So I'm going to put this aside so I'll have somewhere to put my stuff once I'm done. Alright, now, this is my cilantro, and it's still in a bundle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the end of this off. And don't ever discard your stems. This stuff right here can be used in salsas. It can be used in sauces, salsas, all kind of stuff. If you want a pan-seared steak, that's good to just, you can use the stems. Don't ever waste your herbs, because you can use the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about this much off, which is about a handful. Yeah, I'm going to take this and cut it up too. But it's about a handful, and it still smells so good. Now cilantro's got a tangy smell and a tangy taste to it. You'll see me when I cook salmon, and I will cook salmon on here, my gourmet salmon, that I'll use cilantro in my salmon recipes. So, and sometimes wine as well. Most of the time, yes, always. And Arbor Mist is a good wine to use in any kind of salmon recipe, okay? Just a tip. Alright, so I'm going to put this aside. Alright, and now I've got my parsley that we have quite a bit of. So what I'm going to do with the parsley is I'm going to cut about that much of parsley. Okay, and this is our fresh oregano. Now our oregano is just about done for. So I'm going to move my rubber band down, and I'm going to cut probably that much. So, let's see. That much oregano. And I'm just going to throw it in, okay? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it all in here and I'm going to just blend it all into the meat anyways. So it's not really going to matter how pretty it is or anything like that. You just want to make sure you got a good chop on it. So that's what I'm going to go through and do now. Because I'm also going to add a white onion in there and some green onions that are over there in our windowsill. And just going to make sure that just get a little bit of chop in there to get the oils moving around. Because you don't want any big hunks of this in your meatloaf. Because you're already going to put onion in there too. And of course you're going to put some liquid seasonings in there too. So, and a little bit of your dry rubs too. Or dry seasonings. I love it when it's fresh like this. Because my kitchen smells so good right now. I'm fixing to have to check our potatoes here in a moment, but just want to make sure I get at least a good chop on these herbs. This is the best way to season your food, is fresh herbs. I mean, yeah, I have a lot of dry ingredients, but, and they're good to use, but mainly I like using my fresh herbs and fresh ingredients like fresh garlic. Now, with the garlic, I will be chopping up crushing up a few cloves and putting in there. I won't be chopping them, but I'll be crushing them. Well, it sounds like our oven is preheated and ready to go. It just beeped. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put these back in my bag for a different night. Now, I'm going to add 1 egg to all this. Like I said, this is going to help keep your loaf structured in the oven while it's cooking. Alright, so the egg's in there. I'm going to add my olive oil. Yes, olive oil. Let me pull this back down. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Just want to go across the top, and that's it. Now, I use this in everything beef. Anytime I'm cooking anything, hamburgers, yes, here we make our hamburgers homemade. Like we start like this and we make patties. But I always use the Jack Daniel's steak seasoning number 7 that you can get at Academy Sports. Not at the grocery store, only at Academy. But I use this in anything beef. And that's about 2 tablespoons. I'm just going to drizzle it over the top there. I'm about to add my salt and pepper. That's going to be it for my dry seasonings. That's about a tablespoon. Just want to drizzle it. And just slightly coat the top with the pepper. Well, and that's it for the dry seasonings. Alright, the next thing that we want to put in here, and I'm going to see if I have it. I have Mike's seasoning. Now, I know you haven't seen me use this in a while, But Mike's seasoning you can get at the Buckarama, Turkarama, Fisherama, or at the fair that comes to your local city. We have it come out, the Fisherama, Turkarama, Buckarama comes out around 2 or 3 times a year, and then we have the Georgia National Fair. And this is Mike's seasoning. Okay, and I just added about maybe a tablespoon or a teaspoon of the Mike's Seasoning Amazing Creamy Ranch Dressing. If you're interested in getting any of these seasonings, you can't get them in the grocery store. So you would have to go to Mike's Seasonings, all lowercase, .myshopify.com. And it's Mike's Seasonings with an S, .myshopify, SHOPIFY.com. Can't get it in the grocery store, but it is so good. We have a lot of his liquid seasoning here at the house, and I use them in a lot of my recipes. The last time you saw me use this was when I marinated my steaks. Before, not the ones I pan-seared a few weeks ago, but the ones about 2 months ago that I did on the grill for my friends on Facebook. And I haven't posted that one on here, I think, because I just got rid of it because it was taking up too much memory in my phone. And it took like 2 days to load on Facebook. That's why I have his page. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to put for my seasonings for this. Actually, you know, I think I might add a little bit of A1 sauce in here. And then I'm going to chop up a Vidalia onion, and we'll have that in here too. Okay, so now I think I just put maybe just the bottom of the cup. You want to cover just the bottom of the measuring cup. And I think that's less than a fourth. Like, it's very minimal. What you see on the screen is how much you need to put on there. Okay? See? Just a circle. That's it. And then I'm fixing to chop up an onion and put it in there. We're going to be ready to put this in the oven. Alright. Get the outer shell off of here. I'm going to cut this down. Get the top off. Alright, make me a few slits in my onion. This makes it a lot easier to pull out these outer layers. It comes off in sections. Ooh, this one's flavorful. I can smell it. It's pretty strong. Let's see. So I'm going to clear all this off of our cutting board. Our potatoes are boiling pretty nicely. I'm fixing to check the consistency of how they feel, and then probably take them off the eye so that they don't overcook, because you don't want to overcook mashed potatoes. Then you're left with liquid and no mash. Alright. That thin membrane too, you want to take that off. I'm fixing to cut this part off because I didn't get all the way down. And like before, because I'm cubing, I'm trying to make it cube small too, because it's got to go in this meatloaf and not be too overpowering. Alright, and you turn it over here and you just put it on. Try not to cut too down far where it's like all the way through to the hinge, because then your onion will fall apart and it'll be harder to dice. Cut. I'm going to have to put it on its side there. Okay. Now, just like before, like you've seen me do time and time again. See? Isn't that cool? I love that. It just saves you so much time. Alright. Now some of this, you may have to chop. And that's okay. Nobody's perfect. So you don't have to be perfect, okay? You're at home. You're not working for Chef Ramsay, which, by the way, I love Chef Ramsay. He's so funny and cute and cool. I love him. I've done a lot of his recipes, and they are magnifique. You really should look him up or buy one of his cookbooks because he is a fabulous chef. Alright, so add that in there. And you're probably thinking, wow, that's a lot. Yeah, it is. But it's also very flavorful. Alright, so right now I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to check the consistency of my potatoes. Excuse me. Oh. Alright, I'm just trying to get one aside so I can test it. When it goes through easy like that, they're done. Pull it off the heat right away. That way it can be cooling down, okay? Alright, so here in a minute I'm about to put them in the strainer and then add them back to that pot. Because if I leave them in that water too much longer, they're going to cook to a consistency that I don't want. But right now, they're just about done. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting on this hinge and getting the excess onion off of here. And then I'm going to chop it. Because I want to use the entire onion. I don't want to waste it. Even down to the center part of the onion. And that's done with. Alright, and with my big knife, I'm going to go through and chop. I'm going to add this in. And here in a minute, I'm fixing to get some of my green onions out of the windowsill. And chop them up. Now, do remember that, there are going to be times you're in green onions that you're growing in that you're growing in the windowsill that you will use them all. So you will have to return back to the supermarket and buy you another bushel. I know a bushel for me and my family as much as I cook, which is every day but one day of the week, so 6 days out of the week. And I don't always use green onion. I cooked last night and didn't use green onion. But most of the time I do. So 1 bushel for me will last about a month in the windowsill after I purchase it. So, and if, I'll have to spend 89 cents on a bushel and then I get to use it for the rest of the month. That's 89 cents a month for green onions. It's not bad. Alright, so that's good and chopped. Alright. I love the ridges in my cut board, so I can just pull everything back in there until it's ready to wash. Okay, let me get my garlic. Alright, so this is the half of the head from that Friday, a week ago when I made chili on September the 30th. Remember, so I was telling you about watching Hocus Pocus. I thought it was a cute movie. I hope all of you enjoyed it, those of you that got to see it. But it's still on Disney Plus if you haven't, so don't forget. But I'm going to use 2 of these smashed cloves. 2 of the big ones. Just 2. And then we'll put the rest up. Like I said, I'm just going to smash them. Take all the shell off. Cut the end off. That end. You don't want to bite into that. It's kind of porous. It don't taste very good either. And not to mention, it helps you get the rest of the shell off your and it's just crushed. Just stick it in there. All right. And sometimes it will come to pieces, and that's okay. It's not finely minced. We want the oils and the juices to render out nicely in this meat. Now, remember when I was pan searing the steaks and I was telling you that I had to cook my marinade, because you can't just throw onions on top of steaks, but you can throw onions in here. And you can mix them up and then mold it into a meatloaf, a huge meatloaf that's the size of this pan to feed my family very good. Like, there'll be leftovers tomorrow and we can sit down at lunchtime and eat it for lunch if there's any side. But if not, it's really good by itself with between bread or something. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wedding ring off and I'm going to go ahead and put my hands down in there, and I'm just going to mix all this stuff really good. See how pretty that is? Yeah, it's okay. Sometimes you have so much going on in a recipe, it does spill out, but that's okay. The better the seasonings, the better the food. So, yeah, you just want to kind of just marry it all together. Like, you want the egg to be very mixed. It doesn't matter if the rest of it is, but as long as it's together and it's inside the mold of the loaf that you're trying to make. But you want to do this with your hands enough until you can tell that the egg is not slimy in there anymore and it's mixed. That's really, and of course to get everything, in each part of every piece of the meat. You want these seasonings in every part of the meat. Okay. All right. Now look at that. Look at that. How pretty that is. All the parsley, oregano, and a cilantro, your white onion. Now, I'm about to take the green onion and just sprinkle it on top. Well, first let me go ahead and mold this down into the pan. You want to get everything like down the sides because you're molding it. Everything looks so pretty and gourmet. Yeah, gourmet restaurants cook meatloaf. Alright, I'm going to push it all down. There's a piece of garlic. Just smash that on down in there. Make sure that all your garlic's smashed in. You want it in the center. Now, what's going to happen when I put it in my 400-degree oven for 20 minutes, it's all of these onions and all of these fresh herbs and the spices that I put in here, the salt and pepper and the Jack Daniel's steak seasoning, and and I'll put the green onion over the top here, and all the oils are just all the oils from everything, even the onions, the Vidalia onion I put in here, it's just gonna render out from the heat all throughout this meatloaf, and it's gonna be so tender and delicious. So, let me go get my green onions, put them over the top, and then we're gonna put these green beans into the oven because it's ready. So, let me get the green onions. Here's what's left from a month ago. We're going to use all that tonight because I've got a whole nother bushel and already in the cup going. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to cut the roots off and discard them. Last time, well, no, I chopped these up the other night. That's gone. The last time I was on here last Friday, I cut my finger on while I was cutting these up. So let's pray I don't do that again. It did not feel good. Alright. Sweep that away. Okay, so all this is going in the trash. Alright. Now, I'm going to use all of this, okay? But first of all, I'm going to strip some of the membranes off. Because I don't want that in my food because it's thin and porous. And not to mention everything underneath it is fresh. New growth. But we've gotten all we can get out of this chewing gum, so... But it's been about a month since I've had to buy a bushel, and I bought a bushel today when I was at Walmart. And, so, like I said, they don't last forever in the window. I'm going to get the other side, because you want just the fresh ingredient poking out through there. We don't want none of the old stuff. Okay. Sometimes you may have to cut the bad from the good. Alright, these are ready. And they're going to be finely chopped, because see, they're not very thick. But that's what I mean by we done got all the good out of this bubble gum. Now it's time to throw it out in the trash and work on another one. Oh, any growth coming through there. Let's pull this away. Okay. Yeah, we don't want nothing but fresh in our food. Okay. So try to line these up as much as I can. I'll just kind of cut them and be careful not to cut myself. Alright, and then we'll put them in a little pile and just chop. Like I said, this is just going over the top. But they're going to render real nicely on top of this meatloaf and go down into the meat and flavor it really well, just as if it was on the inside. But right now there's so much stuffed in the inside that I don't think it would make it in there. It would, but it would be steadily coming out. And now I'm just going to serve it over the top like this. There we go. And it's ready for the oven. Now I know some of you are like, wait a minute, that's not traditional meatloaf. Why don't you got no ketchup in there? Because we put if you want, you put ketchup on it after you pull it out the oven. That's how we do it around here. But no, I don't put ketchup in my herbal because everything in here is fresh. I mean, even the meat's like almost 100% all meat. So I'm not gonna add nothing else to this. I'm gonna go ahead and dump my potatoes though. Alrighty, so this is going in the oven along with our green beans that are sitting over here, and it's at 400 degrees, and I'm going to set it for 20 minutes. Now, The reason why I put these in casserole dishes is because you can sit both of them side by side on the top layer, on the top shelf, and not have to worry about using the top or bottom shelf. Let's see. See, they're sitting in there real nice, side by side, and I'm gonna mix them. And in a minute, I'm gonna pull them out and show you the finished product. You know how to mix mashed potatoes. Those of you that have been following my channel since I started, it's not hard. You just take your potatoes, put them in the pot. Add your butter first, not your milk, because your milk will cool down the potatoes and you don't want that. You want to add your butter in there first and mix that all up. One stick of butter, one stick. And then you add your salt and pepper, and then you mix it some more, and then you add your milk, okay? So, and usually it's about, I want to say, a third or fourth of a cup of milk. And I always use about 3 tablespoons of sour cream, and you'll see me put the drippings in there when I pull it out. So when I pull out the finished product. So I'll see y'all guys in a minute. Alrighty, we are back, and I've just pulled our meatloaf out of here, and we actually had to do about 35 minutes on the meatloaf. We pulled the green beans out at around 25 minutes, and this is what they look like, and they are so delicious, crunchy. Salt and pepper, tablespoon of butter, a little bit of olive oil. Delicious. Still crunchy. So flavorful with the salt and pepper. 400 degrees for 25 minutes. You can't beat it. Now, this is our meatloaf, and it looks really good. I'm going to put it up to the camera and show you. The green onion reduced nicely on the top of the meat. And it's so good. I mean, it smells delicious. Well, what I'm fixing to do is, while I took my break, while I was waiting for everything to cook up in the oven, I took my mashed potatoes and I put a stick of butter in there, a quarter cup of milk, about a tablespoon of salt, and then I mixed it all up, and with 3 tablespoons of sour cream. And there's my potatoes. But there's one thing missing from the drippings from this. It's so good. Closing my oven up and turning it off for a second. But okay, so I can't use this spoon because there's holes in it. But I will use it to serve up my green beans, which, by the way, are so delicious. That's gourmet green beans right there. But I'm going to move all this over so that you can see what I'm about to do. Do you want to find a big serving spoon like this one? And you just want to take the drippings from the side, just kind of mix it around like this. And all this is the fat that rendered out of this meatloaf into the pan. I'll try to move it over a little bit, and that way I can put my spoon in there in the corner. And that right there is a roux. And the fat, that's some good stuff. That's flavor. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 serving spoons. That big. Okay? And you just mix. Alright? About to taste it. With a clean spoon. Just one more. It also helps make them creamy, real creamy. These are not chunky. These are creamy. All right. Nothing in this world like it. It's delicious. All right, so I'm gonna plate this up because my husband's out on a job site right now, and it's time to eat for me and my girls. But I'm gonna plate this up for him and put it in the microwave because my daughter loves this meal, and she'll eat it all, and he won't get any. And mainly because she likes those with the drippings in it. But I'm gonna plate it up for you and see what it looks like. And this is how I serve it at my house. I'm gonna take and go ahead and slice this up in helpings. And I always slice it elongated down like this. I almost want to show you this. Look at this piece right here. It's just so full of all these herbs and spices. Look at that. And it's holding together very nicely. I'm going to set this aside as a taster in this green bean pot right here. Let it cool. And here in a minute, I'm fixing to tell everybody dinner's ready, and this is all going to be gone. Sometimes there's leftovers, and like I said, we have that for lunch the next day at the table as a family. But I like to cut it elongated and then cut the slices in the center. But this is what it looks like. I'll go ahead and plate that up for him. Get him a big heaping spoon of potatoes. There won't be none of these left for leftovers tomorrow. So, but all right, and then I'm gonna get him some green beans. This man will not eat green beans out of a can because I've been cooking green beans like this for us for 22 years. He will not eat them out of a can. We once had dinner guests over, and they said they were going to bring the side items over, and they brought them over in a bag. One of the side items was a bag, and the green beans were in a can. And he got in his truck and went to Walmart and got fresh produce and told them to keep their cans. That we didn't eat like that. But anyhow. Yeah, it was kind of rude, but he's spoiled. So we're going to go ahead and get him some of the biggest pieces in here because he worked 12 hours today at work. And now he's on a side job for his business working too. So I always give him, pretty big helpings because he's hungry when he gets out of work. See how pretty that is? And he loves Vidalia onion cut up and like just sliced and put on the plate and eats it with it. It's so good. But from my kitchen to yours, this is Shannon. She was Shannon's Kitchen saying, if you love my channel, please subscribe and hit the like and bell icon to help with YouTube's algorithms. And if you want to see more of these recipes, from my kitchen to yours, herbal meatloaf with homemade cream potatoes and roasted green beans. Bon appetit.